Hi there, there's a lot of you here, wow. So I'm Dan Wakeford, the Deputy Editor of People Magazine. Hopefully most of you know People Magazine. You've seen it on the newsstands. I'm sure most of you know People Magazine mostly because of our celebrity content, whether it's seeing George Clooney's wedding photos or hearing about the latest insight into Jennifer Aniston's divorce. But celebrity isn't all that we do. A big component of what we do is celebrating ordinary people doing extraordinary things, really highlighting people in their communities, the heroes of communities who have put their community before themselves a lot of the time. And this is how, it was this area of the magazine and this ideal that helped us start, that motivated us to start a accolade system called Companies That Care. And we started it last year because we wanted to celebrate companies doing extraordinary things and reward them with our new program. We noticed that there were so many amazing stories out there of charitable giving, of great community outreach, and some very creative perks for employees, which we all like. Business has really started to prove that you can make a profit and also make the world a better place at the same time. And we wanted to encourage this because we believe that a company can do good and do well at the same time. So we partnered with Great Places to Work and surveyed over 1,000 companies across the country to find firms that best show respect, compassion, concern for their employees and their communities. And last year's winner, the #1 company that care, was Salesforce. The companies that win the accolade are featured in the magazine in a big spread across a lot of pages, and then the stories are rolled out on all of our platforms. And our audience is upward of 100 million, so that's a lot of eyeballs on this great work. It's amazing visibility for your company and a shining light on this great work. To enter, a little plug, and to enter Companies That Care, you have to have the surveys completed by March the 23rd, so there's not much time left to enter into this year's Company That Care, but you've probably got enough time. The companies we celebrated do so many great things, including treating employees to days off to explore nature, or teaching children to read, or helping veterans climb the corporate ladder. And that's what we're here today to talk about. We're focusing on companies that have excelled at helping veterans, and we're going to meet two people who have helped their company become a company that care with these programs and have also benefited from these programs. First of all, I'd like to welcome to the stage Justin Mendoza. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Dan.
Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here with you and our 1,000 new friends.
So, Justin works for Quicken Loans, and a little information about Justin before we start. He joined Quicken Loans in 2013 after serving in the US Air Force. He served 6 years of active duty service as an HR generalist. That's right, a round of applause. He provided direct support for Operation Enduring Freedom, and he now leads the veterans hiring team at Quicken Loans. You create career opportunities for the nation's service members, veterans, and their spouses with the Quicken Loans program, Tour of Duty. So, Justin, can you tell us a little bit about the program?
Yeah, so the program is an exclusive opportunity, and Dan, I'll tell you how I would tell a fellow service member. So the team I lead is a team comprised of all veterans. So that's where we get that instant credibility when we're working with those service members and trying to find them that career opportunity when they transition out of service. So first off, the program, transitioning service member, 6 months full-time paid opportunities in areas of business that you're interested in. It's an exclusive opportunity with a top company to work for. Mm-hmm. So what you're going to do there, you're going to learn, you're going to innovate, and you're going to produce. So you're going to learn what it's like to be at a civilian workplace. You're going to get the opportunity to innovate, coming with a different perspective, a different lens, because we don't want to just be one of those companies that's stuck like, we always did it this way, we're going to continue to do it this way. We reward innovation and execution. And ultimately, you're going to produce And I truly believe if you give the right tools to our service members to learn and grow, they're ultimately going to produce at a high rate.
So that transition seems like it would be difficult because from an outside perspective, like how did the skills from working in the military and serving for your country translate to working at a loan company, for example?
Yeah, I always give the analogy of the Air Force. I served in the world's greatest Air Force. The Royal Air Force, they're great too. So, but being part of the Air Force, there's so many jobs. Like a lot of times some people ask me, what did you do? What kind of planes do you fly? Well, as you mentioned, I did HR. I never touched a plane. I messed up people's orders and pay. There's a lot of HR people out here, they know what I'm talking about. So that's what I did in the military, and same thing with Quicken Loans. Yeah, we're in the mortgage industry, but we're a fintech company. So we have technology positions, we have security, we have operations, all the same roles that we have at Quicken Loans.
So part of the program is making sure that the role of coming out of the military, that those skills aren't stereotyped.
Right. Kind of overcome those stigmas to understand that 80% of the roles in the military translate to the civilian workforce. That's
really interesting. So how did you become involved with the Tour of Duty program?
Honestly, I became involved with it out of, I guess, dumb luck. Kind of backed into it. I made my transition out in 2013. Knew I wanted to be an HR nerd somewhere. And I actually picked up a Fortune 100 magazine.
Sister company to People.
and I wanted to see, I'm from the Metro Detroit area. I wanted to go back home, and at the time there was 2 companies on the list, and one of them was Quicken Loans. And that's when I started doing my research and realizing, what do they do, right? Their products, right? They help people get a piece of the American dream. They're innovative. They're in this city of Detroit working to help a great American city revitalize and be the catalyst behind that. So they're making the impact, and ultimately they're military and veteran friendly. So all those check marks, all those boxes that stood out to me and what attracted me to the company is the reason that I still love working there today.
And so how was the transition from civilian life to civilian life? How was that?
It's difficult. Everyone has their own transition story. Everyone has their own background. From being a high performer in the military, knowing that me and my wife wanted to move back home, and then going to being unemployed, to living in your in-laws' basement, that's tough in its own.
Very tough.
When I promised her father years ago that I would take care of her daughter and be there, so. That piece is tough, and I was unemployed for a little while there, and I think what we try to do at QL is translate those skill sets that we value in our service members. Because the funny thing happened, when I changed my profile on LinkedIn from working for the United States Air Force to Quicken Loans, you'd be surprised how many recruiters started reaching out to me then.
So that's really interesting. So we just need to change that perception and that culture that Army people who work for the veterans only fight, and that they have so many skills to contribute to the workplace. That's really interesting, and kind of one of the messages to get across today. Yeah. Can you talk through any of the stories of veterans that you've helped, and some of the times when you've been like, this program is really worthwhile? Yeah,
I mean, in recruiting in general, we always say that we're changing people's lives. And then we're such a data-driven, companies. What's the data? What are we doing? We talked about the Tour de program. So far, we've had over 150 service members go through this program, and we've hired 2 out of 3 in full-time roles. So the data is all great, but we're still talking about people.
The human experiences are what we're interested in, yeah.
Absolutely. And so when we take a step back, I think about someone that was making the transition out of the Army. Very similar story to mine. Wanted to marry, his high school sweetheart. He wanted to marry, and he couldn't find a job, right? And he was struggling, and he was living, in someone's basement as well at the time. But what happened now, we fast forward, they went through the Tour de program. Now they're on the IT side working directly with our executives. Mm-hmm. And now they're married, they bought their first house, they're expecting their first kid. So when we're able to open up and create opportunity for all, you really impact people's lives. You truly are changing people's lives.
That's really great to hear. So talk through some of the support systems that the program actually provides to veterans.
So we have a whole slew, and there's a lot of great companies here that I know have very similar initiatives. And really what we're trying to do is just create that support, saying we value you, we respect you for what you do, and your values translate to working at Quicken Loans in our family and companies. And so some of the support things that we do, we have team members, we have programs where our team is directly mentoring those tour duty associates that we talked about, and creating that environment where it's inclusive and people can innovate and make an impact.
That's really interesting. Has anybody got any questions for Justin about the program?
Oh, surprise questions.
So what tips would you give to any companies about advice you would give to setting up a veterans program?
Yeah, Dan, you're talking about one thing about biases. When in the media, I think we struggle when it comes to the military and veteran population, because a lot of times we're looked at as heroes or ticking time bombs, and I think that's part of the media, fostering those stereotypes, and we have to challenge those. And I mean, so as a company, if this is something that you want to be a part of, if you want to bring more military veterans into your company, their spouses, and create more a diverse and inclusive environment, you have to be championing that from the top, is one. The second piece is find a veteran, find a military spouse, find someone that's going to carry that forward and lead that charge on it, because
somebody who's gone through the experience and knows how to speak to those people.
Absolutely, you get instant credibility that way.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. The program sounds really, really great. Who wouldn't want these amazing skills and people in their company? Thank you so much, Justin.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next up, onto one of our other Companies That Care award winners, USAA, the financial services firm who focus on providing services to the military. They have a program called Vets Lead that helps veterans transitioning from uniform service into the civilian workplace. And today we have Bill Comanche with us. Welcome, Bill. Thanks, Bill. Yeah. So Bill is a Navy Academy graduate, and he served as a Marine Corps logistics officer. Excuse me, that was a tongue twister. In various infantry commands during his 23-year career. His career included a tour at Marine Corps Special Operations Command, combat tours in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and assignment as a battalion commander where his unit earned 3 Marine Corps wide awards. I think that's worth another round of applause.
Thanks.
Bill transitioned in 2016 through USAA's Vets Lead program when he was hired as a supply chain manager. He plans, negotiates, and manages strategical and tactical third-party contracts for USAA. He actually missed this morning's session because he was upstairs working, doing exactly that. And Bill is a New Jersey native and is married to his wife of 18 years, Sherry. So welcome, Bill. Tell us a little bit about the Vets Lead program and how you discovered it.
Well, Vets Lead hires, transitions, and develops a select group of veterans in a 1-year leadership, development, and transition program. The Vets Lead cohort convenes for 1 or 2 days each month for that year for some learning and mentoring activities. And all in line with bridging the gap, the business acumen gap for the things that we know about business to where we need to know about business in order to be successful to support the organization. I kind of fell into Vets Lead. I found it through my military network. One of my college classmates, I'm a Navy grad and we're pretty tight, he identified this opportunity because he works at USA. And it was a happy coincidence for me because USAA was in my target location, every Marine that I've ever met from Texas has been a great American. And I knew that when I was to leave the Marine Corps, we were moving to Texas. So, true story. So in August of 2016, without a job or offer in hand, we packed up the family and headed to San Antonio.
So that was really the great unknown for you. You didn't know what, after all of these years of structure, you didn't know what was ahead of you. So
No.
to talk about that pressure and the pressure of leaving the military.
So I think that veterans, at least in my circles, get plenty of coaching about the technical and the mechanical and the procedural parts of getting a job. For me, the issue was all emotional, and I'm likely to get emotional talking about it.
We're among friends.
So as chaotic and ambiguous my life as a Marine had been in my job, there was full of certainty. The Marine Corps was going to tell me what to wear, they were going to tell me what role I was going to fill, they were going to tell me what compensation I was going to get. There was a good likelihood that I was going to continue to get promoted and increase compensation. I knew that I was likely to deploy, and I knew that in 3 years I would get orders and I would get somewhere else. And that was pretty certain. The transition, on the other hand, was completely uncertain. For the first time in my adult life, since showing up at the Naval Academy in 1989, I had a choice, and the choices were overwhelming. What did I want to be when I grew up? Where did I want to live? I had a choice: what state, what city, what compensation would be acceptable? Would that be acceptable to my bride? What church would we attend? What school would we put our kids in? And I was on an upward trajectory in the Marine Corps, and I off-ramped in order so that my kids would be in the same school through their high school years. Mm-hmm. And so if I had failed, I would be failing as a father and as a husband.
So that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure.
So Vets Lead puts guardrails on that. The Vets Lead program provides executive mentors and executive veterans and panels to have a back and forth. And that did a couple things for me. One, those executive mentors affirmed my decision to get out of the Marine Corps. They identified to me that it was going to be okay, I was going to make it, and they stood as an example of what was possible if I stayed the course.
And gave you that structure and that direction and support, I think, is a big important thing, and a safe space. I mean, you've mentioned there's a lot of problems with transitioning people from the military, and that 50% of people don't end up successfully transitioning into jobs. Yeah,
so thanks for bringing that up. So the Vets Lead program at USAA has a 98% success rate. 98% of those that have come to USA and have gone through the Vets Lead program are still with the company today, and I'm pretty sure that percentage blows away what the average is across.
That really is a huge achievement. So congratulations to USAA. So I'd like to ask you first of all, what skills and attributes do you think veterans have that's unlike other candidates?
So I think you all know that we come with significant leadership experience. So even as a junior service person, you're expected to lead, and you gain that capability through practice over many, many years. But what you may not appreciate is the learning agility that we come with. Being in the service is not being in a job and then being in that particular job with increased responsibility and compensation until you're done. You job hop. If you use me as an example, I started out as an infantry officer, then I changed career fields completely and became a logistics officer. I spent 3 years in acquisition with only some schooling behind it, and then at the tail end of my career, without any aviation experience whatsoever, the Marine Corps turned to me and said, "Bill, we want you to command a Marine Wing Support Squadron," which is essentially a battalion that supports airfields. And not only that, in 8 months, after you've trained all your Marines and sailors, we want you to go to Afghanistan and do it in combat. So the takeaway is that veterans quickly identify stakeholders. They are able to connect the dots, and then they're able to get to work and achieve greatness for your company.
So it's adaptability and the achieving of goals, being able to adapt in the business world is a great skill to have. So finally, what advice would you give to other companies who are looking to set up a veterans program?
So when you're conversing with a candidate that it's their first time out of the chute and it's their first time with a corporation, that resume that's in front of you is their first resume. And they want to put all the great things that they've done and tell you about it, right? But it doesn't come across real well. So I would offer that you should look past the resume and have a conversation. We're worth the conversation. And in that conversation, you ask for examples that might demonstrate some of the skills that you're looking for, and don't discount the learning agility. And then the last thing is that should you hire a veteran, that you invest in them. After the many years of job hopping, and they're going to identify stakeholders, they're going to connect the dots, and they're going to go be great for you, but you can help them do that, and you can help that happen much more quickly than they would if they were left to their own. They're going to get it done, but left to their own devices, it may take longer than you'd like, but invest in them.
That's great advice. I'd like to thank you, Bill, and Justin for your insights today, along with, of course, your service to your country. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
These veterans programs are just two of the many inspiring programs that the companies on our Companies That Care list have done. I'd like to thank you for listening today, and hopefully this will inspire you to make your company a company that cares. Thank you.